This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Comes down to the final few days. It all comes down to the drivers being able to tame the bumps, and for the last 8 weeks everyone has been fighting for a spot in the top 20 in this series and the chance to stamp their ticket to the iRacing Porsche World Championship and the chance of winning a share of $100,000. Sebring is a circuit full of history, originally a World War II airbase and now famous worldwide for being the home of the 12 hours of Sebring. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the iRacing Esports Network. We are RaceSpot TV, bringing you the final broadcasted round of the Porsche Pro Qualifying Series. Jack Stars alongside Jolly Simon with Hugo Luis on the cameras for you today. And Johnny, Sebring is an absolute beast of a circuit. You have to tame it to be even anywhere near the mid-pack.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very tough circuit. A lot of bumps out here. I wish there were more options on the GT3 Cup car to adjust in terms of mastering the setup around this track. So all that means is that the driver just has to control a lot more of it in terms of steering angle, throttle and brake inputs, a whole lot of the other. Nothing you can adjust in terms of weight distribution, which is a critical aspect at this track. So again, like I said, what's the other way to manage weight distribution? Hey, use your right foot, use your left foot, nice steering angles. Tough challenge for these drivers today for the final round.
A nice warm Florida's afternoon for these drivers here today. 27 degrees Celsius in the air, which means it's 41 degrees Celsius on the track. Winds are easterly at about 9 kilometers an hour. And an air pressure, we're looking at about 103 kilopascals today at this circuit. Qualifying is currently underway for the final time in this series. Championship standings are up on your screen. Freddie Rasmussen looking pretty comfortable up at the top, with Max Benecke second. Lauren Heinrich has managed to get his way up into third in the standings. Sebastian Job, winner last time out last Saturday. He's down in 10th position, looking more comfortable now than he has all season long to get himself into the World Championship. Where it's going to get exciting, though, is between 10th and 20th, and then between 21st and 25th, because these are the drivers who won't be at risk at losing their spot in the next few days, Johnny, because they have to get it right. This isn't the final chance for these guys to get into the championship, I must point out. This will end at around midnight UK time Tuesday.
Yeah, so there's still time, but this probably is the next best shot in comparison to last evening's strength of field race, which is normally, as we see every week, that Friday night race is the one that gets the most strength of field per week. This one has occasionally, for a couple of rounds, this championship been the highest strength of field. But I think for the likes of Graham Carroll in P20, he should be safe to advance through with a World Championship license. But to be honest with you, you never know. It's motor racing, Jack, and anything can happen. Graham's out here racing today, trying to stop Thomas Tatala in P21 to prevent him from promoting himself into the top 20.
And that looks as though for Graham Carroll, he's done quite well. Currently qualified 10th position. Just a few more drivers out on track, finishing themselves off some laps. We're currently looking at the number 14 and switching focus to Mogar Filio in the number 18 machine for Radicals Online, hanging himself into Sunset Bend. Sunset Bend, Johnny, is really a corner which could be vital for overtaking spots, because if you can get yourself on the inside, especially in these cup cars, you've got a good chance of being able to push the other driver wide and getting yourself a position.
And it's one of 3 overtaking spots. The other one is coming up at turn 1. Turn 1's not really a legitimate overtaking spot, but then after that, you could possibly make a move into 3 if you set up the driver offline into turn 1. Maybe the hairpin at turn 7, of course, as well, through the middle sector at Collier or Tower. There's a possible move looming for these drivers, but it's that Almond Straight heading into Sunset Bend, as you said, Jack, where it is the best chance for these drivers today to pull off an overtaking maneuver.
It's time for everyone to get themselves down onto the grid for one final time on RaceSpot this season. We can bring you your starting grid. Pole position goes to the driver of Patrick Holtzman at 2:03.367. Alongside him is going to be David Williams. Lining up third is going to be David Norwowski. Fourth, Moritz Lohner. Fifth, Sebastian Dunkel. And sixth, Niels Koch. Tumas Tatala is going to line up seventh with Zenzo Benito eighth. Marin Cholak ninth. And Graham Carroll is going to round out the top 10. Jack Sedgwick is going to line up in 11th with Alexander Thiebe alongside him in 12th. Kim Eriksson 13th, Glenn Key 14th, Mika Harpinen in 15th, and Mogar Filio in 16th, Marcus Urak in 17th, Richard Skender 18th, Daniel Bristow 19th, and Deacon Whitewood is going to round out the 20-car field at Sebring today as all the drivers get themselves down onto the starting grid. We're going to have a standing start in these Porsches. No traction control, no anti-lock braking systems. It's all down to how heavy you are going to be on that right foot off the start. The cars slowly building themselves up, Johnny, with just half a minute before we go green. Everything's getting tense.
And it can bottleneck into turn one. That's the critical aspect. We've seen incidents on lap one this entire qualifying series. These drivers need to be careful here today as it really bottlenecks, as we said, into that first sector.
Just 10 seconds remaining. The final few moments for these drivers to compose themselves for the final time this season. We are green at Sebring for the Porsche Pro Qualifying Series. An absolutely brilliant start by David Williams and Patrick Holtzman off the front. Everyone behind just trying to get themselves into a position. Sebastian Dunkel heading to the inside of Moritz Lohner into turn one, but Lohner's going to counteract. Everyone filing their way through. Let's avoid an incident for one final time today, boys. Everyone nice and safely through there, Johnny. Clean start from everyone, but this is where the bottleneck starts at turn number 3.
Niels Koch got off the line incredibly well, but now he's got contact from the driver behind in the number 9, and that forces Koch onto his roof. Whoa, and that's contact behind as well between a few other drivers, so a domino effect there, Jack, but that came at the worst time as I said that, because Niels Koch had the most incredible start out of the top 6, and now we see Ericsson also off the racetrack with terminal damage for Black Star Racing.
So we've already lost one of the Williams eSports machines. Looks as though we've lost at least one of the Black Star Racing machines as well. They were involved in a very heavy incident at the start. All 3 of them, I think, involved in that one. Back to live pictures, looking at the battle for second position between David Norwowski, looking to the outside of David Williams. Williams, this is the highest we've seen him run all season long. He's finally pulled out a good qualifying here today, and he's fighting for a podium, but Novakovsky has gone around the outside in one of the hardest places on the circuit to get up to second, and now behind Moritz Lohner, looking to try and take advantage of David Williams.
And look at their lines through this last part of the final sector, or the first part of the final sector, excuse me. They have to widen their line, and they need to straight line these next couple of chicanes as much as possible. It looks like Williams is offline quite a bit through that middle sector. He's going to pick it up here, nail the apex, get the front end to bite as quickly as possible. But all 3 of them, well, pretty good exits there on the exit, so I guess they're all going to form up across the Ullman Straight.
And down at the Ullman Straight we head into Sunset Bend. This is Moritz Lohner's one of his best chances on the circuit to try and make a pass. As you can see, everyone looking pretty good. He's looking to the inside through Sunset. Williams running wide, a little bit of contact between the 2. Williams has been pushed off to the outside. This gives Moritz Lohner a chance to run side by side down the straight, but he's got the outside line into turn number 1. Easily the harder line to take. Williams has got a little bit more of an advantage sitting to the inside. So David Williams versus Moritz Lohner, and I don't think Moritz Lohner's got enough to go through turn number 1. So he's going to have to wait, compose himself again, Johnny, and try again.
Yeah, don't have a peek into the first sector. There's no overtaking spots here, so just get as close as you can to the rear end of that Coanda SimSport car. And you just want to feather the throttle here and just try to take a late apex through that corner so you can get the best run onto this next mini straight through Big Bend, rising up to 230 kilometers an hour before you jam onto the brakes there. Lochner having a peek. But, it looks like Williams gone deep into the braking zone, and that's going to allow Lochner. It's going to gift Lochner a spot into the top 3.
And that was very deep into the hairpin for David Williams. He's had to sit behind, so Williams has dropped down to 4th. Moritz Lohner now has moved himself up onto a podium finishing position, but David Williams with a counter-attack into Cunningham Bend, and he seems to have made an effect because Moritz Lohner has stuck to the outside line. However, Lohner getting a slightly better drive off the corner, which is usually seen on the outside line through that curve just there. So David Williams getting very aggressive in the VRS Squad Sim Sport. Well, that's what he needs to do. Behind is Marin Cholak. Cholak, Johnny, he's a driver with lots of experience in situations like this. Of course, ex-World Touring Car driver, now driving for Logitech G Altus Esports.
Yeah, he's racing the real world, now switched to sim racing in the esports environment. And he's jumped around the teams over the years, so it's good to see him find, hopefully, what should be a home long-term for Cholak. Here he is across the Ullman Straight. See the DRS boards, no DRS in the Porsche Cup car, of course. But look at the lead that Holtzman has right now. It's good to see Patrick Holtzman racing around really well, of course. He's one of the quickest drivers in the world and has been for the past 5 years. And right now he remains untouched. Of course, no Job, no Beneke, no Rasmussen here today. So Holtzman able to capitalize and still 1.7 seconds ahead of Novakovsky in that second position.
Then we mentioned at the top of the broadcast the battle for the 20th points position between Graham Carroll and Tumos Tartala. Well, we've got an update on that one for you. They're both in the pits. They both were involved in incidents on the first lap. Graham Carroll is out. Tartala looks like he might be trying to get back out onto track. However, the position that he's in, Johnny, won't give him enough positions to overtake Graham Carroll in the championship, I believe. So that could be big for Graham Carroll. It depends if these two want to race again this week. Biggest moves and shakers up on your screens for you, ladies and gentlemen. Niels Koch in 15th. He's down 9 positions. However, the driver with the biggest gains in the opening 5 minutes of this race, that is going to be Deacon Whitehood, currently running in 12th position. He started 20th, Johnny, so he's done a very good job of getting himself up the order.
Well, he picked up the pieces from the incident between the number 9 of Dunkel and Niels Koch and the number 2. So all those drivers you see on screen right there on the left-hand side, they're all out of the race as we watch Deacon Whitewood right now. But to me, it was a very clumsy incident. I'd love to see it again if we get a shot, but I don't really care who's at fault. It was just clumsy, you know. It's an incident that shouldn't have happened, and it's something that shouldn't happen in the World Championship. Now, the thing is, you filter out those drivers who won't finish in the top 20. I think the drivers who will make the top 20, along with the top 20 from the World Championship last year, as we see the replay now, my wishes come true. We won't see these kinds of clumsy incidents. But here we ride on board from Ericsson. Let's see what happens, Jack.
Yeah, into turn number 1, everything looking pretty good so far. You can see Alexander Thieb just ahead in the middle of the 3-wide situation. And the Inex driver, I believe that's Jack Sedgwick on the inside. On the brakes, everyone gets. This is going into turn number 3, 4, and 5. This little complex. This is where everything goes wrong. And you can see just behind a massive pile-up, 2 of the Black Star cars on their sides, managing to pop it down. Didn't realise that was possible in this car. Another view of this one, see how it got started. And this is just behind Marin Cholak contact with one of the Black Star cars. Didn't quite get to see the incident between Niels Koch and the driver of Sebastian Dunkel just ahead of them, though, Johnny. But riding on board with Marin Cholak, this is quite a good view of what happened.
So I think, is this it? Yeah, there we go. So was it Cholak that, I'm getting a bit confused. So was it Cholak that turned around Niels Koch there in the number 2? I'm getting a bit confused because it felt like a separate incident. I swear I saw Dunkel in the red car collect Niels Koch. Niels Koch will be around the outside here at turn 1. He has a pretty good start. Are we following Dunkel in the red?
I believe it was Marin Cholak who took out Tumos Tartala in the Black Star car.
Yeah.
But it was Sebastian Dunkel just a little bit further on who took out Niels Koch the next corner, and that's something which we did see a replay of in the end of, and I believe just there we're a little bit too late to see it. There we go. We might have another view of it now. Running on board with Sebastian Dunkel. We can see to the outside should be Niels Koch. There he is. Oh, there's the contact. And it was, it just looks as though he was trying to go for a gap that was never going to exist.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think Koch probably obviously made a mistake. I hate how drivers always blame each other for being deliberate, but I think Koch just probably found that Dunkel, he was unsighted, and Koch turned in on him a little bit too much. So just a misjudgment there from Koch, and he ended up worse off from it. But of course, Dunkel has lost a few positions too. So again, it was just a clumsy incident that shouldn't have happened, you know, Jack. And hopefully for these guys that they can capitalize on this, especially for Dunkel. He's in P24. And it's probably never going to happen. I don't think he's going to be able to climb in the top 20, but it's races like these that he can't afford to happen next year in the Pro Series.
No, and Niels Koch, he's safe. He's in 7th position in the standings, so he's pretty well cemented into this one. Back to live pictures we go for you, ladies and gentlemen. We're riding back on board with Marin Cholak in the number 5 machine, still trying to chase down David Williams. A gap of around half a second between these two guys as they head through Sunset Bend, but ahead, Moritz Loder in 3rd position. is trying to defend from David Williams. This is allowing Patrick Holtzman and is allowing David Novakoski to just drive off into the distance now.
Yeah, it certainly is. Holtzman, there he is on screen, my former teammate for about 3 months. He's really made I'm really proud of him. He's really had the past year for him has been outstanding. Just hope that he can string it together in the races, you know. That's what I hope for Patrick over the next year, and whether or not he can eliminate that sort of trend that he's given of not being able to be a good race setter. But here he is today, you know, leading this race. He's doing well. But again, it's that train, Jack, that we're talking about. Lochner, Williams, and Cholak hasn't changed in the past 5 minutes. And someone's going to have to make a move sometime soon, because there aren't any pit stops in this half-an-hour race. No
pit stops. They not long enough to be able to have a pit stop in this race, really. Live timing and scoring is available for you today, ladies and gentlemen. Head yourselves over to racespot.tv/live. You can track your favorite drivers throughout the start or throughout the duration of this race. And of course, currently going on another event at Sebring, the Sebring 12 Hours. That coverage is being brought to you by Will Vincent, Connery Maddock, Justin Prince, and Alvin Nieves, and we'll be there for around the next 5.5 hours. But of course, I will persuade you to stay with us for the next 25 minutes so you can see the closure of this series. Because, Johnny, it's going to get exciting, I think, especially towards the end of the race. People might be taking a few more risks to try and get those positions that they do need to get the points.
Yeah, certainly. But I guess, look, if you go into a race and there's no Max Benecke or Rasmussen, the strength of field isn't going to be that high. So for this race, I doubt this will be the highest strength of field of the week, but it's important for some drivers. They can still claim the maximum amount of points. Never know, Jack. Of course, you said it was Tuesday midnight. So yeah. You mean Tuesday night, which means Wednesday morning, or you mean Monday night to Tuesday?
It's going to be Monday night to Tuesday morning. So
the typical iRacing switch per week.
Yes, it's the iRacing switch of the week. That is going to be when the series ends, and we will know for definite who the top 20 are. However, we might have to wait a little bit to find out if anyone else has got an invite, because, of course, there is the fact, Johnny, that some of these drivers from the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix series last year might not take the invite.
Which I don't think they should do, but I can understand why. Those drivers are passionate about open wheelers. This isn't an open wheeler, so I can understand why some drivers wouldn't take the license. But we'd rather see that, right, Jack, than drivers take the license and not race and maintain it, which has been an issue in the past. As we see the battle here between Lochner and Williams, which is starting to heat up. Williams had a look last time out in the hairpin. See if he does it again. But at the same time, we know, Jack, that straight away a guy like Kroenke, De Jong, they're going to be insanely quick. Hutu, if he races as well, he's been quick in everything his whole career. Those are three guys that there'll be no doubt that'll be quick in the Porsche.
And it is going to be interesting to see how they do. Looking backwards from Moritz Lohner now towards David Williams. Williams wasn't faster last time round. Out of the last 3 laps, he's only been quicker than Moritz Lohner on one of them, although he's looking to me as though he's closing the gap just slightly. The gap between the two currently sitting at around 3.5 tenths of a second. That's just one bad run out of a corner for Moritz Lohner, and David Williams all of a sudden does have an opportunity to be able to make his way through, heading themselves through Bishop towards Le Mans corner. Le Mans corner, of course, Johnny, very difficult, because if you run too wide, you get out onto the grass, and with these cars, that's very dangerous because you can very easily spit yourself into a wall.
Yeah, you don't want the car to understeer. That's the worst thing you want at Sebring. And considering, as we said, you can't really adjust weight distribution, only springs and toe and some other settings in the Porsche Cup car, but it's all about the right foot and lack thereof it sometimes to unwind the understeer. It's like one of those rookie mistakes drivers make when they jump in a car. They say, the car's not turning in. I keep mashing the right foot on the throttle. It's still not turning in. Well, that's why you have to release it, you know, to unwind and unload the front end. As we see Williams here getting or etching closer and closer to Lochner. I love turn 1 here as we ride on board, Jack. Look at this. You want a wide line through here. It's a long radius corner. Trying to find this little orange board to the left. It's a good little reference point. Hard to see with our infographics at the top. But Williams nails it perfectly, but so does Lochner, you know. So this is at the moment of time where you just have to keep on pounding and hoping that Lochner in that Williams eSports car makes a mistake.
And last time around, the two drivers did match each other on lap times, both running 2:04 deads. The difference was 2 hundredths of a second between the two. So David Williams is matching times with Moritz Lohner. That's not good enough, however, for David. He needs to be able to push the car further, get himself, even if it's a tenth or so a lap, before he knows it, he'll be onto the tail. But behind, I think he's also thinking about Marin Cholak, and add into this one Enzo Benito, Johnny. We've got a four-way battle for P number 3 with 4 very, very quick and capable drivers.
Yeah, and it's so odd seeing Enzo Benito in P6 in a race, because he's been winning everything lately. And he's a guy who's he's creeped in lap after lap, hasn't he? He's the only driver in the field, apart from Patrick Holtzman, who was in your 2 minutes and 3 range last lap round. So Benito is quick. So we'll see if... I rarely see someone pick off drivers one by one for position on the same strategy, but maybe Benito can prove us wrong here.
I think Enzo Benito, he's one of these drivers who will come into this series thinking, right, I'm not going to go for race wins, not going to go for outright pace. However, I can't see him. Oh, yes, I can. He's 12th position in the points, so he just needs a good finish today. And I think for some of these drivers, especially the likes of David Williams, Marin Cholak, that's all they want. They just want a solid finish to get the points, to make sure they can cement themselves in the championship. Because wherever you finish in that top 20, it doesn't matter. You just need to be in it.
Well, let me tell you something about Enzo Benito. It is all outright pace. That guy is all about that. Nothing else. He's about speed. He's about just sort of that entertaining driver that when he's out there in the top 5, you know it's going to be a good race, no matter where he finishes. Because you get those other drivers who just take it easy. They're a lot more conservative. Benito goes flat out. Right now, we're seeing it here today, and you see we're enjoying it. You know, he's in the 6th position. They're reeling in Novakovsky up ahead. Novakovsky's lap times have been quite poor. I think he might have made a mistake last lap round, but you can see he's getting closer and closer to these guys on screen visually.
And the gap between David Novakovsky and Moritz Lohner is only about 1.5 seconds. So it is slowly coming down. Last round, Moritz Lohner was able to gain around 0.5 seconds on the driver of David Novakovsky. So Novakovsky obviously having a problem. And it could simply be something as simple as he just went a little bit deep into a corner or lost it on the power. It's very easy to do in these cars, especially at a circuit like this. But the gap between Patrick Holtzman and David Novakovsky, however, that is going out, and going out at quite an extortionate rate. You can see that David Novakovsky can't even match the times of Patrick Holtzman. So Holtzman looking very comfortable up at the front of this field as we go past the halfway stage in this race.
If you can match the times of Patrick Holtzman, I mean, that's impressive. I'd be putting that on my resume for work if I applied for jobs, because he's that quick. You know, Patrick Holtzman 5 years ago was like, in another sim, which I don't want to name, held like, I don't know, so many lap records for hot lapping on that sim. Like, he's so quick. You know, now it's great to see him converting it to race pace. Then again, I want to see Patrick Holtzman be up there for podiums and race wins come the World Championship, you know, when he's in. That's where we want to see him. Now, have a look at this train here on the Ullman Straight. Things starting to form up. Hopefully Alexander Thie doesn't catch this train in a good way, because I want to see these drivers start to pass each other. But I'm getting impatient, Jack, as we ride up to almost 260 kilometers an hour with a Benito. I want to see these drivers pull off a move. Come on, boys.
And I think it will happen, but not for another 4 or 5 minutes yet. I think we're still in the lull in the middle of the race where some of the drivers, they'll just be wanting to make sure they're still there in 10 minutes time, because that's when the pressure is going to be most. If these guys can start closing down the gaps just a little bit more, then we'll start seeing moves. The likes of David Williams, we know he has pace. There's a reason why he qualified second on the grid. He is running in 4th, so he hasn't got a podium. I know that David Williams would love a podium after the run that he's had so far this championship. He has had top 10s, he's had good runs, but this is the best run he's had all season long, Johnny, and I think that'll be a great way for him to go out. We can see him just ahead, 2 cars ahead of Enzo Benito, who we're currently riding on board with.
And this is the position you're in with Benito, where I don't want anyone speaking to me on the radio, and it's obviously driver preference, but you're not looking at lap times, there's no strategy involved, there's 12 minutes left. If you need encouragement to pass someone, you're not a race car driver. You don't need an engineer telling you to come on. You know, your mind right now is saying, oh, well, I'm going to make the move at the first instance, if I can, on Marin Cholak. But it's just Benito's trying, he's searching. It's just so difficult to overtake around Sebring. Like we said, Jack, there's 1 or 2 good overtaking spots. One decent overtaking spot, but very difficult to make into turn 1. The other 2 are on Sunset Bend and the hairpin. A lot of bumps, middle sectors, tight track, minimal run for error, and you know, you don't want to pick up 17 incident points too and get disqualified. So it really is a tough challenge for the final round.
And we have seen drivers disqualified so far this season. It has been something that's happened. Sebastian Dunkel was disqualified, I believe it was at Motegi, about halfway into the season for hitting the 17 instant limit, and we have seen it elsewhere as well at other circuits. That really does make it clear. Just 13 drivers left racing in this race now. The retirements so far are Marcus Jarak, Tumos Tatala, Niels Kosh, actually Tumos Tatala's back out and running, however he's down in 15th position. Niels Kosh, Mika Harpinen back out as well. Kim Eriksson, however, along with Jack Sedgwick and Graham Carroll, have decided to park it. So a few drivers who are laps down, who are a long way down the order, Jolly, deciding to get back out because it could be they could get that one extra position and those vital points for the championship.
Yeah. Exactly. How do you pick up 17 incident points in a race?
It's easy. Off tracks and contacts. Car contacts can very quickly add up. I mean, you look at the incident we had on lap 1.
4. Some
of those drivers could have come up with 8 incidents from that.
That's 8. So that means you have to have another big incident. How do you? I don't understand how you pick up 17 incident points. Because it's a series like this. If you're in the rookie, what's it called? The Mazda Rookie Series. It's probably a good sign that I forgot the name of the most popular series in iRacing for newcomers. But yeah, like I just don't understand how you can pick up 17 incident points. Like, you know, you should be a lot cleaner. I think what I've noticed though, watching this Pro Series so far, is that it's a lot easier to make contact in these cars. I might be wrong, but I feel like in the open wheelers, drivers are a lot more cautious. I'm not sure if it's because they're more fragile, but it's just the nature of open wheel driving. You know, there's less door banging involved.
I think I probably agree with you. It's a GT car. There's a little bit more to it, which means that some drivers are going to want to be a little bit more door-to-door. And this could be where we may start to see it, because Enzo Benito is closing up to the back of Marin Cholak. Just 4 tenths between the two drivers. Not even that, 3.5 tenths at some points on the circuit. Last 2 laps, Benito has been quicker than Cholak, so Cholak is clearly just trying not to push the car too hard at this stage in the race. We're looking at under 10 minutes to go now, 10 minutes to go in the final SOF of the season, and the final big chance for these drivers to really get some vital points for the championships. If not, they are going to have to really pull their finger out if they need to get some good runs. We've already seen some drivers not have that today. So for Enzo Benito, could he get a top 5 to round off his season, get some good points, or do you think Marin Cholak is really going to put the elbows out and try and hold him off?
I'm afraid if it's not happening now in a half-an-hour race, who says it's going to happen in 9 minutes' time? We'll just hope that can be proven wrong. And the worst part about it is they're starting to spread out from each other quite a bit as well. Watching from on board Benito, it's so difficult to get the car turned in behind another driver. You know, he's not taking the lines he was taking back in qualifying and back during the race. He's taking early turn-ins. He's on the throttle a lot later than he would be. And it's just so difficult, especially at a racetrack like this. So I think Jack would have to come to a race of attrition, if anything, to pull off a move.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is going to have to be a case of something's going to have to happen ahead for a move to happen to these cars. Just 8 minutes remaining. And of course, for those final 8 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, head yourselves over to RaceBot.tv/live for the timing and scoring, so you can see the lap time, see the gaps, and track your favorite drivers. And of course, that is something that we do love, the interaction between you and us. We do love that. And of course, still looking at this battle for third, Alexander Thiep hasn't really closed the gap so far, Johnny. He's still about 5 seconds behind this pack. We might be able to see him in the background of our shot as they all head through. But actually, for this driver, for the Porsche Racing Team, he's had a good few races. And sitting in 7th position, he has got some good points for the championship now.
Yeah, good job, Alexander Thiep, who's one of the underrated drivers in iRacing for sure. Where is he in the championship again, Thiep?
23rd.
23rd, yeah. So he's, again, I mean, it'd have to take not a miracle. Miracle's selling it short. I think it's unlikely he's going to make the top 20. But then again, like you said, Jack, who knows if like 5 drivers don't take the license in the World Championship, he could still find himself with a license.
It is possible. You just can't predict these things. And of course, with some drivers having issues today, it could push him up the order just that little bit. We will have to wait and see. Back to the battle for third position, though. Marin Cholak looks as though he's been able to pull a little bit more of a gap over Enzo Benito because he's back out to half a second, Johnny. But also, with this all happening, has this allowed David Novakovsky to drop back? So in fact, Moritz Lohner is now on the tailpipe of David Novakovsky. So Moritz Lohner could be making moves to second position here in the next few laps.
He certainly could be. Williams' pace has dropped off in terms of Lohner. Now, Moritz Lohner, he's improved over the years, and I think he's improved as a racer too. So Novakovsky's got to be careful here and just try to understand that Lohner won't hold it short right now in these final few minutes. See if Lohner can pull off the move. Now, who knows if he can get it done heading into the Ullman Straight. It's that run out of Le Mans that drivers are struggling with. So if you can't get it done there, at least force him offline, Jack, heading into Sunset Bend, and maybe pull off the move into turn 1 or turn 3.
I think his best bet is to get the driver of Novakovsky offline through Sunset Bend and then consolidate the position through turn number 1, because as soon as he does that, David Novakovsky has lost any chance he's got of putting on a rebound through the first sector because of how little opportunity there is to overtake.
And you can do that because Williams is 1.4 seconds behind. So if you force him offline and Williams is right up your tail, well, then you're going to get at risk of being passed by the Coanda SimSport driver. So you can take the risk, but then again, like I said, the run out of Le Mans is very difficult, and Lohner's got no chance to force David up ahead offline. Look at the bumps through this Sunset Bend. You can see the car oscillating through the corner. Such a fun racetrack, isn't it? It used to be an airfield, by the way, Jack. One of many racetracks of this world that used to be an airfield. I think it's the oldest permanent road racing facility in America, too. That's a fun fact of the day.
Yeah, and some of the straights and indeed some of the corners, especially where you see this cementy looking colour, they are remnants of the airfield. A lot of places that were airfields have been resurfaced since with fresh tarmacs, the like of Silverstone, Snetterton, near to where I live in the UK. They've all had the runways paved over, Johnny, but here, this is what makes Sebring unique, and this is why the bumps are actually so important, because they are the old runway.
Can I credit the UK? I think the UK has the best collection of racing circuits in the world. I've had to choose a country. And I'm Australian, by the way, so it's unbiased.
I'm biased. I pick the UK. It's that simple.
I feel like I've offended a few countries, but hey, the UK's got Snetterton, like you said, Silverstone, Brands Hatch. I'm done. Like Alton Park, Donington, we're done. That's like the top 5. Like, what better starting 5 can you have if you have to start those 5 racetracks in an NBA game? There's no way that you're beating that 5. You know, it's like an all-star 5 in terms of racetracks. Back to the racing action regardless. Look at the pace of Lohner. It's green the past 3 laps. Probably green again this lap. So I guess, Jack, I don't think he's going to be close enough. You see, right now he's already offline heading into this final sector. He's going to lose some time here, but I think it's possible he could pull off a move.
It's 4 tenths between these two drivers as they've got 2 laps remaining in this race now, so not much more of an opportunity for Moritz Lohner to look for a move and get themselves past. There is traffic ahead of them in the form of the number 13 machine, which is Tartala. He is, of course, 6 laps down with heavy damage and running quite a long way off the pace. So these drivers are also going to have some lap traffic to deal with in the closing moments of this race. So for Moritz Lohner, he's now got to compose himself. Just 2 more laps remaining. The team will now be telling him that it's the final stages of the race. Across the line he comes. It's going to be a 16-lap or 15-lap race, now heading on to lap number 14. As we ride on board with the number 6 machine through turn number 1. It's closed down now to 2.5 tenths. It's getting closer and closer. The move from Moritz Lohner is surely just a few turns away.
Very impressed by this with Lohner. I'm not sure if it's a setup thing or a driving style thing, but maybe he's up the pressures a little bit more than the others, but these tires are really starting to come to him towards the end of this race, so this car is really starting to come alive right now. He's definitely quicker than Patrick Holtzman, and he's the quickest driver out there on the racetrack. I know he's got some slipstream to aid him, but look how hungry he looks as well heading into the hairpin at turn 7. No move though for Lohner. It's going to come soon in these next couple of minutes.
It's going to come down into Sunset Bend. I have a feeling that's going to be where Moritz Lohner shows the nose to David Novakovsky and make sure that he can consolidate his position on the second step of the podiums. They head themselves into turn at number 10. Still not close enough for Lohner. However, he does look faster. He does look competitive. Just 3:10 split the two. Heading themselves into Tower for the penultimate time. Tower, of course, a very difficult corner. Bump on the inside. You cannot get on the power before that bump. If not, you'll lose the rear end of the car. Just ahead, you can see Patrick Holtzman. However, Holtzman is looking as though he's very safe up at the front of the field. So for Patrick Holtzman, just one more lap separates him from another win in the series and a good chunk of points going into the final few days.
Lochner looks good. What an exit out of Le Mans, and you can see Novakovsky pulling wide. Now, Novakovsky can get away with that if he has enough off tracks. But I was going to say, I wouldn't be pleased with that if I was Moritz Lochner, especially if that happens in the World Championship. I definitely feel like he's gaining an unfair advantage. But Lochner, look how aggressive he looks through here through Sunset Bend. Novakovsky is under immense pressure as they begin the final lap.
And Moritz Lohner looking very good on the brakes through Sunset, was able to close the gap just that little bit more. However, it's still just 3/10 between the two. The white flag will fly this time, ladies and gentlemen. We have one lap remaining here at the Sebring International Raceway. Lohner taking a much tighter line through turn number 1, which could mean that he has a good run. He's closing very slowly onto the driver of David Novakovsky. Different lines through turn number 2. Through turn number 3 and 4, they'll head now towards the hairpin for one final time, the last big braking zone on the circuit, which could really be Moritz Lohner's final chance. Last time around, he was only 7,000ths of a second quicker than David Novakovsky. Looks to the inside. However, he's not close enough. He's not going to be close enough to make a move on David Novakovsky.
Look at Benito behind as well, forcing Cholak offline. He could pull off a move, of course, too. So a couple of nice battles right now, but Benito may have to form up heading into Cunningham later on this lap, Jack, as we edge closer and closer to a move. Benito searching for a move around the outside, but Cholak smartly defensive.
And Cholak holding the inside line through Cunningham. Benito getting loose on the power as he exits out of the corner, which is not ideal. Once again, losing the rear end is Enzo Benito, so he may have just lost his final chance of being able to take a position off of Marin Cholak. Really hard on the curb through Tower. He's going to be this time. That's important for the run off the corner, but for Moritz Lohner, David Novakovsky, not many chances left for these two now. Through to Le Mans for the final time. They will now head. Novakovsky, as long as he gets a good run onto the straight, which I believe he's done, he's going to look very comfortable out of the front. And for Patrick Holtzman, it's been lights to flag from first position, from the pole position, and he's going to bring himself down onto victory lane for one final time this season. Through Sunset Bend he will head. Patrick Holtzman, number 1 machine on the side of the door, started first, and he's going to finish first at Sebring to take the win. David Novakovsky will hold off Moritz Lohner in the closing stages of the race to bring home second position. David Williams will cross the line in 4th, and Marin Cholak doing an absolutely brilliant job at the end there, Johnny, to hold off Enzo Benito to bring home 5th.
Brilliant race, brilliant ending. Good to see as we see Thebe and Glenn Key here in a tight scrap for 7th and 8th. They come across the line finally. Oh, that's Dunkel and Thebe, excuse me. No, Dunkel and Key, excuse me, as they get closer and closer. That's for 8th and 9th. But brilliant race, Jack. Just a bit for Holtzman. I'm not concerned, but I'm just hoping that his pace drop-off was just due to the fact that he'd sealed that win. Otherwise, I'd be concerned. If he was just backing off because he had the advantage, that's fine. You know, if he can bring a strong pace like he did earlier on. But great race nevertheless, and a good battle between Novakovsky and Lochner towards the end, but they still end up on the podium. Those guys are safe. We'll probably see them in the World Championship.
Yeah, of course, there is a few days remaining in this series yet, so the positions could change just slightly from what we're going to see this afternoon. As everyone has now finished the race, we can show you the final finishing standings here from Sebring. Patrick Holtzman taking the win by 1.4 seconds over David Novakovsky in second position. Moritz Lohner was able to hold off or wasn't able to attack David Novakovsky enough, so he finishes in third. David Williams having a brilliant run to finish off his season, going to come home in fourth. Marin Cholak fifth, with Enzo Benito not doing enough to be able to take away fifth place. He's going to come home in sixth. Alexander Thebe in seventh, Sebastian Dunkel in eighth, Glenn Key ninth, and Mo Garfilio is going to round out the top 10. 11th position is going to go to Richard Skender, and 12th to Deacon Whitewood, and that is going to be the 12 cars which finished on the lead lap. Daniel Bristow, Marcus Jurek, Tumos Tartala, Mikko Harponen, Niels Kosh, Kim Eriksson, Graham Carroll, and Jack Sedgwick all hitting trouble during this race. Some were able to finish this one, but not all, and they were still a long way down the field. We're going to step aside for one moment here on RaceBot TV and the iRacing Esports Network, and we will be back for post-race coverage from the final round of the Porsche Pro Qualifying Series.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
It's that time of the year. The iRacing World Championships are starting up for 2019, and you can catch every single one live in full on the iRacing Esports Network. Welcome back to the Sebring International Raceway, ladies and gentlemen, to the final round of the Porsche Pro Qualifying Series. Jack Stars alongside Johnny Simon with your final finishing positions back up on your screen. And Johnny, a brilliant run today by Patrick Holtzman. He was able to bring home the bacon, head himself onto victory lane to get one last win of the series.
Yeah, brilliant race from Patrick. Like I said earlier, I just really hope that this pace drop-off at the end of the race wasn't a legitimate pace drop-off. I really hope Patrick was just taking it easy, because he had some thrilling pace for this race. Now, if he can do that in the World Championship against the likes of Kroenke, De Jong, Benecke, Rasmussen, Sebastian Job, all these top talents that have shown themselves in the Porsche, Patrick Holtzman will be a force to be reckoned with come the season.
And obviously, further down the field, we've seen David Williams. He's had a good run, but for Graham Carroll, we were talking about it before we went live, he had to have a good run here today to be able to consolidate himself in that 20th position, and he was caught out on the first lap. Has that brought his hopes of being in that top 20 in the automatic positions to an end? We don't know, because Tumos Tautala, the driver in 21st, also had a bad day today.
Yeah, look, I think Graham's straight through, and I think he'll be okay. But yeah, I mean, it's very close to call. You know, you never know what could happen in these next couple of days.
And of course, this isn't the last race of the week. We do have some more races where these drivers can claw back the points, can get themselves in a better position. The win today will promote Patrick Holtzman up into third position in the championship, because Lauren Heinrich didn't race here today. So for Patrick Holtzman, not only has he got a win, he's got himself third in the championship. For Marin Cholak, a good finish here is going to get himself further up the field. So's David Williams. David Williams is currently 16th in the position in the championship. Marin Cholak is 17th. So a really good run for those two drivers means that they are able to consolidate themselves a good position going into the final couple of days. And we've said this already, Johnny. Today is the last big opportunity to get that big points from a high SOF.
Yeah, I look, there's a 99% chance that this is going to be the last chance of the Pro Series to claim a lot of points. But as we said, you never know. You never know, as you said. Looking at the top 20, everybody there is, to me, a well-known name within sim racing. Very proud of the likes of Alejandro Sanchez. Very, to me, an unknown name in terms of, you know, I follow the open wheelers a lot more, of course, too. But a young guy, 18 years of age, he's still coming up the ranks, of course, too. He's definitely raced a lot in the local Spanish leagues. And it's these drivers, Jack, that we forget that the local leagues before iRacing became very, very popular, it was these local Spanish leagues, these local Brazilian, local Australian leagues, all these different countries that sort of built the talent. Then they went international to these World Championship competitions. So it's good to see iRacing gives you a much more fairer shot at entering World Championship competitions, and Alejandro Sanchez has taken care of that himself.
And of course, the drivers who are in the top 20 in the points, carrying on from that point, Johnny, is they're from all over the world. 3 of the top 4 drivers in the points are from the DH club, so they're from Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. We've got Jeremy Bouteloup from France, Kamil Franjak and Marin Cholak. They come from Central Eastern Europe. Jared Filsell is there from Australia. And you've got some UK drivers. You've got Sebastian Job, David Williams, Graham Carroll. There's a lot of drivers in this top 20 from all around the world. This really is going to be a massive international competition spanning every continent of the globe.
Yeah, Zelensky qualifying is a great cause for him. You know, he's one of the quickest drivers in the world. Obviously, his best talent is definitely in the ovals, in those stock cars in the Peak Entry Series. But Jared Filsell has been very impressive. And another Australian coming through, of course, as well. He's always been very quick in tin tops. It's his type of forte. If we do have Bathurst in the World Championship, if that's confirmed for the World Championship later on this year in 2019, look out for the Australian drivers, because all they do is spend 80% of their time at that racetrack lapping around. And we saw Filsell earlier on, Jack, at Bathurst. What did he do? Dominate.
Yeah, it was a dominating run from Jared Filsell at Bathurst, really proving that that is the track where the Aussie community will always come out strongest. We saw it last year with TTL Esports, with Josh Rogers at TTL Esports at Bathurst in the VRS GT World Championship, and again just a few weeks ago with Jared Filsell at Bathurst in this very season. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, that is all we have time for here on RaceSpot TV and on the iRacing Esports Network from the final round of the Porsche Pro Qualifying Series. And for one final time, many thanks to everyone who gets it done here at RaceSpot. Istvan Balau and 22trackcams.com, and of course Stefan and ATVO and Stefan Grossman with all the developments. Our overlay is designed by Andreas Werner of Andrew Device, and Your Lifetime in Soaring, as always, is brought to you by Nick Thyssen. From myself, Jack Stiles, from Johnny Simon, from Hugo Luis, Will Vincent, and Connery Maddock, who brought you all the coverage all season long of the Porsche Pro Qualifying Series. We thank you very much for tuning in for the last 9 weeks to find out who's going to make their way into the iRacing World Championship with Porsche and a chance to win $100,000 from Sebring. Thank you very much for tuning in. Goodbye.